Hey everybody, Jordan Belfort here, author of The Wolf of Wall Street and creator of the Straight Line System. And I want to welcome you to this webinar. And I want to tell you flat out, because I'm the kind of guy that cuts right to the chase, who this webinar is for and who it's not for. It is for entrepreneurs, business owners, salespeople of all types, whether you're selling the tangible, the intangible, whether you're selling online or offline, if you're a marketer, if you're a so-called expert, okay, who sells your services as a consultant. It's pretty much really anybody who wants to get ahead in life, who wants to make money, because the single most important skill when it comes to making money, bar none, is the ability to close the deal. And that's really what the straight line is all about. So let me just go into a couple of things here real quickly. Number one, if you want to learn to raise money in venture capital, if you have a business or an idea, you want to monetize that idea by raising money, so it's using other people's money versus your own, the straight line will show you how to do that. If you need to be a negotiator, and of course in any aspect of business you got to learn to negotiate effectively, the straight line will show you how to negotiate. And of course if you're a salesperson and you just want to close the deal, get into rapport, learn how to overcome objections, how to give presentations that just keep people hanging on the edge of their seat. There are certain words, certain magic phrases that we use here that literally just get someone to want to listen to you, to want to open up to you, and of course to eventually want to buy your project. So that's really what this webinar is about. It's my best strategies here in about 1 hour, no more than an hour here, and I'm going to show you really the outline, a framework for how you close anyone who's closable. Now, this really is the beginning of a journey that I want to kind of get you on here, because I've created what I like to call the sort of the blue ribbon product I've ever created. It's called my 1-year mentorship program, and this really will introduce you to sort of the strategies and tactics and techniques that I really helped people all over the world learn to become literally masters in their field, whatever they do. So I want to really take you for the next hour on this journey with the straight line system, where I could show you literally 4 or 5 very powerful techniques that are going to allow you to make more money straight away. Like, these are things that literally just do them. You insert them into what you're already doing, and you just start making more money, because you'll be closing more effectively, negotiating more effectively, you'll be able to inspire other people more effectively. So the straight line system, it really cuts through to all aspects of business, of performance, and really allowing you to be the best you can possibly be. And I'm sure you know my story. My story is really well known. There's a movie coming out next couple of months about it. So I'm not going to belabor you with trying to tell you that I have authority over this subject. I invented the straight line back in 1988, and I used it to build basically the most effective sales force in Wall Street history. Since then, the straight line has been used all over the world in virtually every industry imaginable. I've created, countless, tens of thousands of millionaires, million-dollar producers with the straight line system. And I want you to understand this. There's one important aspect to the system, and it's called a good enough factor, meaning you don't have to be an expert with the straight line system to get results. Even a little bit of proficiency with it, and you'll see a dramatic change in your ability to get into rapport with people, to close the deal, to get referrals, to raise money for your ideas, essentially to influence people to do the things that you want them to do, so you can get what you want. Now, I give you one ethical warning here, is that the straight line system and what you're about to learn in this webinar, it's very powerful, and it can be used to manipulate people, to get them to do things they shouldn't do, buy things they shouldn't buy, and sometimes buy more of what they should buy. They maybe should buy a little bit of what you got, but you want to sell them a boatload of what you got. Don't do that. I want you to learn to use the straight line system only at the highest ethical level, with the utmost integrity. This system will show you really how to get rich in whatever it is that you're doing, by really making you the most effective you that you can possibly be. Okay? So again, I have this mentorship program that goes for a year, and it starts with this home study course I've created for the straight line system. But this is really an introduction to all that. It's going to show you in just 1 hour how to make more money at whatever it is you're doing. And I challenge you to go through this hour and to take out a pen and paper, write a couple of these things down, and start implementing them immediately. And I promise you, you will see the results. Because this stuff just works, bottom line. It's not one of those things that it's where it's like, all touchy-feely inner game stuff. I'm a big believer of the inner game of success, that our thoughts create actions and that lead to success. But I'm not talking about that stuff in this webinar. This is actual hard core strategy. What do you say first? What do you say second? How do you raise money? How do you get a better deal for yourself? How do you, get into rapport in a way where people they just like you and they trust you and they feel comfortable with you? What do you say when someone gives you a compliment? What do you say when someone's pissed off at you? How do you take whatever is thrown at you and, shift that, take the energy, absorb it, and then shift it back in a way that empowers the other person and allows you to get what you want in life? That's really what the straight line system is at the highest possible level. So again, take out a pen and paper. I want you to really, focus in on this webinar. It's under an hour, so take the time. You owe it to yourself. You owe it to your family. You owe it to the lifestyle that you deserve. Because at the highest level, the straight line, what it really is, it's almost like the gate opener, or as they call it back in the day, the great equalizer. It sort of puts you on equal footing with people that have more money than you, because it shows you how to raise money. People that might have, maybe more experience, because it shows you how to position yourself as an expert, be perceived as an expert. This is the great equalizer, this system. So again, I challenge you, watch this, take out your pen and paper, and start using this stuff immediately. And I promise you, you will see a massive, massive result. Talk again soon.
Hello, I'm Leonardo DiCaprio, and some of you may know that I'll be playing Jordan Belfort in the new film, Wolf of Wall Street. What separates Jordan's story from others like it is the brutal honesty in which he talks about the mistakes that he's made in his life. I've been in his company many times, but there is nothing quite like Jordan's public speaking and his ability to train and empower young entrepreneurs. Jordan stands as a shining example of the transformative qualities of ambition and hard work, and in that regard, he is a true motivator.
Hey, Jordan Belfort here, author of The Wolf of Wall Street and creator of the Straight Line Sales and Persuasion System. In this video, I'm going to be teaching you the basics of the straight line system, which is what I've been getting paid massive sums of money to teach to large multinational corporations all over the world, and to entrepreneurs and business owners, and of course to individual salespeople as well, and brokers, and agents in pretty much every industry imaginable, whether it's stocks, real estate, insurance, logistics, pharmaceutical, banking, telco, and those are just to name a few. And I also teach the straight line system to everyday people, the so-called moms and pops of the world, who've wanted to become more effective communicators in their lives, and negotiators and influencers and persuaders. Basically, they want to become more effective salespeople at the end of the day. You see, selling is everything in life. Either you're selling, meaning you're influencing, you're persuading, or you're failing. Either you're selling people on how your ideas make sense, your concepts make sense, how your product makes sense. You're selling your kids to make their beds, do their homework, on the value of their education, on doing the right thing. See, it doesn't matter what line of work you're in, whether it's business or personal. You're always trying to convey your thoughts and your concepts in a way that connects with another human being and empowers them, but also gets you what you want in life too. That's what ethical sales and persuasion is truly all about. That's exactly what this video is all about as well. It's about empowering you to make more money at what you currently do so you can have more freedom to live the life you truly want to live. And so many people don't really have that freedom. In fact, they spend so much time trying to make a living that they have no time to design a life. And to me, that's not really living at all, especially when it doesn't have to be that way. So let me just go through 3 quick things here before we cut to the live footage to give you a bit of context here. Now, number 1, the live training I chose for this was one that I did for internet marketers. But don't be distracted by that. It's totally irrelevant. See, the straight line system applies to every industry and to every job function in it. In fact, even if you're a mute, and I hope you're not, you still have to communicate. You'll do it through writing, or maybe you'll do it like Stephen Hawking does with his eyeballs, right? But either way, what you're going to learn about the straight line system is that, at its essence, it's a communication strategy for both verbal and nonverbal communication, including body language, tonality, and writing. So it applies to everything, to any situation of influence or negotiation or persuasion, selling. This is going to elevate you to an entirely new level of proficiency, and you're going to feel empowered because of it. Second, I want you to be prepared to hear just a little bit of profanity in this training. See, I grew up in New York and then spent half my life on Wall Street, where the word fuck is about as common as the word the. Okay? And it comes from kind of a habit, but also the reason I do curse is actually to get my point across in a way that invokes an emotional response, so it has a greater impact on you when you remember it. Okay? But still, since you may have invited me into your living room right now, please make sure there's no one around who you don't want hearing a couple of F-bombs flying through the air, okay? It'll make me feel better. Now, third, if you find yourself wondering why there are these large red balls on the video at the back of the stage with the words "Buy My Shit" written on them, well, it's because the convention was being run by a man named Frank Kern, who's not only one of the top internet marketers in the world, but he also happens to have an interesting sense of humor. In this case, he figured that rather than putting any subliminal buying messages on his stage, he'd go the exact other way with these "Buy My Shit" balls, which was actually kind of funny, although maybe you had to be there. Either way, let's cut to the live footage now and let the learning begin. And I'll see you on the other side. Most of the people that I deal with, they lack this skill. They're not closers, they're not influencers, they're not salespeople. And I have to tell you this, some people think sales is a dirty word. Selling is everything in life. Either you're selling, meaning you're influencing, persuading, or you're failing. Either you're selling someone on that your ideas and concepts make sense, your products make sense. You're selling your kids to make their better, do their homework. Doesn't matter what line of work you're in with your children, your spouse, you're always influencing and conveying your thoughts, your concepts, and trying to do it in a way that connects with another human being and empowers them, but also gets you what you want in life too. That's what influencing is all about. And I will tell you that you might have heard this from other places, that there's a force inside of you, and once you unleash that force, you can accomplish anything in life. It's a cliche. It's a cliche. But here's the deal. There actually is a force. And the way you wake it up is by influencing one person first. And who's that? Yourself. You have to convince yourself that you are the shit, that you have everything it takes to achieve massive wealth and success. And if you don't have one specific skill set here, if you lack a specific skill, you fucking go out and get it. You perfect it. There are two types of people in the world. I'll tell you exactly who they are. You have people on one side who have reasons. And there are some people in this room that are reason people. They'll tell you all the fucking reasons why they can't become successful, why they can't get what they want in life. There are those people in this room. If I give you the greatest idea in the world, the greatest opportunity, you'll say, well, I got to travel somewhere, or it's going to cost me some money to lay out, or then I have to drop what I'm doing now, or put an extra 3 hours with, neglect my kids. I'll give you an example. I was getting a massage. I stayed, the Del Coronado Hotel? Right? The beautiful hotel. And I went there. It was my 2-year anniversary with the woman who I'm going to marry this year. Grace, she's in the back. Ann. Said, hi, Ann. Okay? So we're there. We're celebrating our anniversary. So we're getting massages. Okay? I'm getting a massage, and of course she starts to ask me questions. What do you do? So I told her what I do. She says, oh my God, I'm an entrepreneur. And she tells me some detailed story about how she has this business where she takes these shirts, and they're healing shirts. She puts like stones on them or something, right? And they and go for your chakras, like the 7 or 10 chakras, whatever it might be. I'm not an expert in this stuff. She's telling me the whole thing. The whole thing. Like, wow, good. Sounds really good. Holy, right? I said, so how many shirts are you selling? Oh, none. No, I'm not selling any yet. I'm like, well, why not? She says, well, I really don't like to sell. I'm like, I said, okay. I said, so what do you do? She said, well, I got all these shirts made, and they're in my house, and it's really unbelievable. I have a website I'm launching. I'm like, what, right? I said, she goes, but I have someone who can sell. They're a real estate person, but they're busy right now. They're going to stop their real estate soon and start. And what I heard, now just to cut it short, for 10 minutes, I heard all the freaking reasons why she couldn't actually go out and start the business. She didn't say, when she said I couldn't sell, it's not, she goes, I'm just not a salesperson. I'm not like that. That's a load of crap. That's a loser's mentality. Sales, influence, persuasion, it's an entirely learnable skill. And in case you haven't noticed, Frank is a fucking master closer. He's a follow-through guy that just gets shit done. And he's got the vision too. So here's the deal. In order to achieve mastery in business and in life, especially with money and success, you need to understand this, that you have two worlds that you need to operate in. You need to operate, firstly, in the inner world, which is what goes on right between your ears, right here, the inner game of wealth and success. And I want to talk about it in terms of persuasion. I said before, the first person you have to persuade is who? Yourself, right? Fair enough. Now, there are certain basic concepts that you've probably heard before in terms of the importance of being able to manage your state. Raise your hand if you've heard that before. State management. Important, right? Okay. This goes back, state management, to the beginning of time. before Gladiators, in the movie The Gladiator, he bends down and he picks up some dirt and starts rubbing it in his hands and gets himself into a state for war, to get ready to fight. Every time in that movie he has an anchor he's firing off. He puts dirt in his hands. Indians would put war paint on their face to get themselves into an emotionally charged state. So I didn't invent state management here. What I'm telling you is this: it's fucking crucial to be able to trigger the right state in the right moment for influence, persuasion / sales. There are 3 states that you need to trigger when you want them. Not always, but in the key moments when it really matters. When you pick up the phone, when you get that first moment face to face, you have to be in the right state. So I'm going to show you some ways to do that and what those states are. Next is your beliefs. Also, something of course we've heard before. Basically that, we are the sum of our beliefs about what the world is, how we operate in the world. And I look at beliefs like this. We have, of course, the empowering beliefs that lead us to wealth and success. And we have the disempowering beliefs that lead us to poverty, misery, and failure. We all have limiting beliefs which hurt us. And in the end of the day, you're always held down by your lowest level limiting belief. It's the one that's at the bottom that stops you. Imagine a Ferrari. You have a Ferrari. It's a beautiful, like Frank's beautiful, it's a red Ferrari, right, Frank? It's a beautiful red Ferrari, right? So it has this beautiful chassis, this 455 horsepower engine, 12 cylinders, 4 valves per, capable of 300 miles an hour. Who knows how many miles an hour it can go, right? But if there's a governor on the engine stopping the flow of gas, it's not going over 55. That's what a limiting belief does for you, or does to you. It stops you from charging forward when you should, and causes you to slide backwards and move backwards when you shouldn't. There are 3 core beliefs, 3 of them, that you need to have as an entrepreneur. If you have the opposite, which would be the limiting form of that belief, you're fucked. No offense, you just are. Because you will end up charging away when you should plow forward, and you won't move forward when you should. You'll sit there in a box and say, what? You'll be nervous, and I'll get to that, what those beliefs are. I don't have time for all of them. I'll get to at least one of them and show you how to break it right here in this room. So that's our beliefs. Next, we have what's called your thermostat, or your standards in life. Thermostat or your standards. And your standards, who's heard of this? Raise your hand if you heard of it. Say aye. Great. Very basic concept here, but what I want to do now is take these things to a new level and apply them directly for persuasion. How you use this shit to actually become the best persuader you can possibly be. So we have this issue of standards, your thermostat, where it is that you feel comfortable in life, especially financially. Everybody has a different level. Me, it's very, very high. As you know from my book, if I'm not making 8, 10 million a year, I'm saying I'm fucking not, I'm desperate what I do. I'm running 1,000 miles an hour to get to that $10 million a year mark. That's it. Other people say, what are you, crazy? If I had $500,000 a year, I'd be thrilled. So what your standards are essentially are the things that you must have in life. So financial standard would be a certain amount of money. An emotional standard might be a certain amount of peace in your life, a relationship with another person, whatever it might be. And there are people with, again, high standards and people with very low standards. The beauty of this room is the fact that you're sitting here means that you already have your standards at almost, if not the highest level. So typically it's not what's holding people in this room back. Other rooms, different. You have high standards. What's holding you back from getting what you want in life is other things. But we're going to hit on standards anyway because I want you to understand the power of it and to make sure that if you ever see yourself sliding back down and dropping your standards for any reason at all, how devastating that could be to you going forward. Because here's what happens. We have a thermostat, right? And it's set for a certain amount of money. Let's say it's for $1 million a year. And if you go on for a long time and that's your thermostat, 1 million, but you can't hit it. Because let's say you're missing something on the you're the worst. As Frank said, you can't sell your way out of a paper bag, so you can't get to this point. After a while, your brain starts saying, fuck this. This hurts too much. And you lower your standards. You say, I'll be happy with making $200,000 a year. So you lower your standards, and all of a sudden, if that doesn't work, you lower them again and again. And before you know it, you're operating like one of these people who's no longer an entrepreneur, but's ready to go work for a fucking paycheck for $40,000 a year and work 40 hours a week, which is fucking insanity to me. That's the danger of dipping your standards even a little bit, because you never know when disaster is going to strike. This shit happens in life, right? You're walking along the street, bam, you get hit between the eyes with a lump of shit. right? It just happens. And if you're one of those people that's going to say, fuck it, I might as well just settle for less, you're done. So you have your standards. Next thing, and the last thing on the inner world I want to focus on here is actually focus. And when Frank focused on overwhelm as being the number 3 reason, okay, what I want to show you and share with you in terms of a strategy and through stories and metaphors, which are very powerful, is the power of having a laser-guided focus on where it is you want to go versus what it is you're afraid of in life. Focusing on where you want to go versus what you're afraid of. Because you end up going where you focus. So many people, it's called living in the problem versus the solution. So we're going to go into that in intimate detail. Now, let's go to the outer world, okay? And these are actually your strategies for influence, sales, and persuasion. Okay, and this is actually, it's the outer world, okay? Put it on top. And in the outer world, you have sales / persuasion, influence, right? You have marketing, which is offline and online. Both, by the way, if you can't just be an online marketer without paying any attention to the real world, what's going on outside the internet, right? And lastly, I want to talk about entrepreneurship. These are actually the skills and the strategies that you need to leverage from being a single-man shop, doing everything yourself, or working with just 1 or 2 other assistants in outsourcing. How do you actually take what you have once it starts to work and literally hit it out of the park? And lastly, and I don't have time for it today, one thing I do talk about also is something called MSIs, and these are multiple streams of income. After you become wealthy, this is part of an overall formula for big wealth. Not just a few, but for 10, 20, 30, $50 million, is that once you start making money in your core business on the internet, you want to then start diversifying and leveraging in real estate and other multiple streams of income. So we'll get to that. If I can touch on it, if I have time for it, we'll see. So those are the goals for today. And rather than telling this to you in a very dry way, informationally, I'm going to give you the lessons by telling you the story of my life. And but I'm going to tell the story of my life in a very specific way. So the lessons are there, and I'll point them out as we move along, and I'll save some good ones for when we sum it all up at the end. So the bottom line is this. You've read my book. You know I've had pretty much the most insane life on the planet, right? Yeah, yes. You got it. I know. Still alive, right? Which is a miracle unto itself, by the way. Okay? And I'm sober for 13 years, believe it or not. Okay? I actually had one misstep on the entrepreneurial path to success, and I, believe it or not, spent 1 day in dental school. Are there any dentists in the room? Right? Who the fuck would want to be a dentist, right? I mean, it's the worst fucking job. Put your hands in people. It's disgusting, right? But here's why. I'll tell you why I became a dentist. It's really simple. It's freaking this. We could always trace back the problems, the mistakes, and our successes to our beliefs. My mom, wonderful woman that she is, she's still alive. When I was 2 years old, sitting in the high chair, right, she'd be spoon-feeding me applesauce, and as the applesauce was going in, she'd be, the only noble way to be wealthy is to be a doctor. You got to be a doctor. My mom's Jewish. You got to be a doctor. So I'm like, oh, you got to be a... So it's like fucking hypnosis, right? So it's true, right? So anyway, so my mother... I gotta get off the stage. So my mother, right, because it's a big room. So my mom keeps hypnotizing me with the fucking applesauce, right? So now I graduate from college, and if you would have said to me when I was 21 years old, what do you want to be? I'd say rich. I didn't know what I really wanted. I wanted to be rich. It was about money. So I had that voice in the back of my head that we all have, and it was saying, the only noble way to get wealthy is to be a doctor. You gotta be a doctor. So I said, well, I'm not gonna be a fucking doctor. That's 14 more years of school, and I want to be rich now. I said, but maybe a dentist will be great, because there's only 4 more years of school, right? And there'll be Dr. Belfort, so my mom will still be happy. Dentists make a fortune anyway, right? So the whole world will be perfect. It'll be Dr. Belfort, I'll be rich, and the world will be perfect as it should be. So I actually applied to dental school. I was a good student. I got into dental school, right? And here's what happens. It was another pivotal moment in my life. My first day of dental school, there's an orientation. And I sit in the rooms at 105 dental students in an auditorium. So I'm looking around like, I'm sitting and sizing up the competition. Okay, looks pretty good, right? And the dean stands up on stage, and he's this white-haired guy. He had a white white jacket on, looking very dental and everything, right? Like a real dentist type, white hair, okay? He's like, welcome you all to the Baltimore College of Dental Surgery. You should be very proud to have come this far in your career, and you're going to be a pillar of the community. And he starts saying all this sort of stuff. I'm like, okay. And I'm looking around, looks pretty good. And then he says, let me say this. The golden age of dentistry is over. He goes, if you're here to make a lot of money, you're probably in the wrong place. I'm like, what the fuck? I'm in the wrong place. And I got up, I hightailed it. The first day I walked, excuse me, I freaking got kids. I was looking. Then, not to belabor the point, I did something that no one would ever forget in this dental school. I'm sure it never happened before or after, as I actually auctioned off my dental equipment. I bought, because I had to buy all this like $5,000 of shit before I actually signed up for dental school, right? That drills and this and wow. I'm like holding an auction in the school, just getting rid of the stuff, right? So, I didn't tell my mother, though, that I quit, because how could I tell my mom? I felt compelled to lie. I owed it to her, I thought, right? So she's like, how's school? Oh, it's great. For like 3 months, I hid down in Maryland because I couldn't break the news to my mom that I was not going to be a doctor, right? Finally, the money ran out. I had to get real with my life, so I went back up to New York, and I sat down, and I told my parents for the first time what my career was going to be, and it literally blew them away. I'll tell you what it was. I said to them, I want to be, which for them is one of the most evil words in the world, okay? It's why they never had any money in their lives, but it was the evil word, and I threw the S word at them. I said, I'm going to be a salesman, which for my parents was synonymous with 2 words, slime and bucket. I still have distinct memories. Anyone my age, I'm in my 40s here, remember the filler brush man? Right, my wife, a fucking filler brush man is here. I can't believe, don't trust the salesman. Get it? I always had that belief not to trust the salesman. My mom was, for 5 years old, I got it. And we're going to discuss that in detail, why some of you are having problems persuading, influencing, and closing. And I'm going to show you some very powerful, some very simple ways that you can dramatically ramp up your closing rate by confronting that belief in an elegant way about not to trust, in a way that empowers people, and also with the understanding that you would only do this ethically. Because this system here that I'm going to share with you, it's called the straight line system. And in fact, signature scene of the movie is this moment when I actually stumble upon this idea, system, the straight line system. And you see DiCaprio do it as me, and it's really cool. I mean, it's really written well. I didn't write the script. It was written by a guy named Terry Winter, who's the writer for The Sopranos. He wrote the script. It's a beautiful scene. And what it is, it's the moment when I stumble upon the straight line, and I realize I have to retrain everyone in my office. So here's what I did. And I'll explain to you exactly what it's all about and give you the basics of the straight line. I can't give you all of it now, not because I don't want to, because we'll have to go to 7 or 8 o'clock at night and Frank will kill me. But let me give you as much as I can, okay, and show you how you can apply this to your business without even knowing it. Just a little bit of it, 2% of it, will allow you to start becoming more effective at persuading people. So here's the deal. That moment when I realized I had to retrain everybody, I said, everyone put down, we cursed a lot. I said, put down the fucking phones. Put down the fucking phones, everybody. I had them put down their phones, all right? I want you to take every piece of paper on your desk and throw it in the fucking garbage. Rip it up. We start from scratch. Everything you've learned, everything you know up to this point, I want you to forget everything you're about to relearn, everything from the time you were this big about language, communication, and something happened to me. And I popped into a state of such certainty where I was channeling. I believe that I was really channeling stuff from somewhere else. Because I started having access to knowledge. Who's read the Think and Grow Rich? Anybody here? Which is, if you haven't read it, read it. It's by Napoleon Hill. It's a fabulous book. It's one of the first, I think it's the first book I read on wealth and success. Changed my life in many, many ways. Okay, an amazing book. And they talk about this, the universal force. And it sounds kind of kooky, come on, it's all bullshit, right? But something happens in some moments in your life, and whatever it is, you're able to access sort of this higher intelligence within yourself and channel. And words started coming out of my own mouth, and I didn't even know what was going on. So I started teaching these guys the straight line system. And I'll show you visually what the straight line is. I called it the straight line because out of sheer frustration, like every morning I'd give a meeting for about an hour. And every afternoon I'd give another meeting for about an hour and a half. Every day for 5 years. As the firm started with 12 people and grew to thousands. And imagine a room about twice the size of this, packed from front to back with desks, okay, people banging away on the phone, pacing around. It was absolutely insane. You walk in, you're like, holy shit, is this an alternative universe? That's what happened ultimately. But in the beginning, it was 12 guys, okay, and trying to explain to them, like, I was like, don't you fucking, I was killing me inside, like, they weren't getting it. I said, every sale is the fucking same. They're like, what? I'm like, every sale is the same. Every encounter, every negotiation, every sale's the same. I'm like, watch, it's a fucking straight line. Here's your open here. And I was like, that's how frustrating. I was like, here's the open, here's the close, right? Now, this is going to be every sale. They'll try to go off the line, right? They'll here and here, below and above, right? These are the boundaries. You will not allow the encounter to go outside the boundaries. And that is called what? Controlling the sale. At the essence of effective communication, at the essence of influence in your business right now, once you learn to control the linguistic encounter, you will be shocked at what will happen. So I taught them, number one, to control the sale. Here's the perfect sale where they agree with everything you say. From the first word you utter, they're on board with you. They're saying yes to every question you ask. Perfect sale. How often does that happen? Not too often, right? So what happens is the customer has a tendency, the prospect, to go off the line. They want to go off the line. You want to keep them on the line. What you have here, between here and here, is your healthy boundaries of where the sale can go. As long as the sale stays within these boundaries, you're in control. If it goes outside the boundaries, you're out of control. In the boundaries, there's two things that you're doing. Number one, you're establishing instant massive rapport through tonality and body language. And number two, using that rapport to gather intelligence, to find out what the prospect truly needs, what his true desires are. Because here's the deal. Remember I said those three things, what are they? Sharp as a tack, or sharp as a tack, enthusiastic, and what else? Expert, you feel. Those three things, right? But why? What is the higher purpose of this? What it really means is this. What this all rolls up to, one thing is that you are a person worth listening to. And taking it one step higher than that, because you're someone who could help them achieve their goals. You could help them get what they want. That's why these three things are so important, because they chunk up to a higher purpose, which is that you're a guy that can help them, or a girl who can help them get what they want in life. If they don't think you can help them, they're not going to want to talk to you. So imagine this. Here you are in the early portions of any, not just a sale, whatever encounter it might be, and whatever you're trying to influence, right? And if you let the sale go out of control, what are they saying to themselves? He ain't a fucking expert. They know. They know. If they start to control the encounter, they know that you're a novice. The idea is to be able to allow them to speak, because you want to find out exactly what they want, what their goals are, but you need to contain that within these boundaries. And as long as you're within these boundaries, you're in control. If you cross over, you go to fucking Pluto. I'll give you an example. People think that rapport is like if the guy starts talking about hunting in the countryside, you'll spend an hour talking about fucking hunting, right? I've heard some phone calls when the guy goes, oh yeah, well, they're talking about a trading system, right? This internet-based trading system, right? And back and forth it goes, and the guy's qualifying the guy to see if he has money or whatnot. He goes, so how long are you think about becoming a trader for? And the guy says, oh, about a year or so. And I have this place up in the countryside, up in northern England, and so on and so forth. And the guy's like, oh, really? Oh my God, I love hunting. I always go for, and they start talking about fucking hunting. For like 10, 15 minutes, they're talking about hunting because the salesman thinks that's how he's getting rapport. Bullshit. There's no rapport there. The guy knows you. If you have all this time, what does that mean? You ain't that busy. You're not an expert. On a different level, car sales. I had a bug up my ass. I wanted to buy a Porsche Panamera. You know that car, the Porsche? Four-door Porsche, right? So my girlfriend and I, we go out to buy a Porsche, and we're done. We're buying the Porsche. We're ready to write a check for the Porsche. We go to a dealership. The fucking bastard wouldn't sell us a Porsche. They wouldn't sell me a car. It was the worst salesman. I said, I didn't come in saying, I drove in a BMW 750. I got the money, so he knows I'm qualified, right? I said, I want to buy a Porsche. He's like, well, let's take one for a test drive. I'm like, what? He broke my pound. I'm like, what? Test drive? I'm like, okay. I didn't say I want to take a test drive. I said I want to buy the car. He made me take a test drive. We go back. I'm not exaggerating. He starts talking about everything but getting me the freaking paperwork. Finally, after an hour, I'm so pissed. My analyst is getting out. We left. He said, let's go buy, we're going to buy a Range Rover. I'm not buying a Porsche. He's an asshole. We're buying a Range Rover. So we go down the road to the Range Rover dealership. I walk in now, it's a really smooth talking salesman. He's, hey ho, how you doing? He's bouncing around. I'm like, all right, this is more my speed at least, right? I said, I want to buy, sit down behind here. So we start talking, you know, my daughter's with us too. My 16-year-old daughter, he's trying to be nice to my daughter. So then we start going. I said, I want this Range Rover, like black preferably, whatever. He's like, okay, great. And then I see a picture of his son, who's obviously a basketball player, like high school player, right? And he's shooting a basket. So I just say, oh, it's pretty cool. Your son's a ball player. I'm bored. He kicks it. Oh, my God. My son. Let me tell you about my son. 30 minutes later, he's talking about his fucking son. About Michael Jordan signed a basketball for his son. He's felt no less than 20 minutes. I'm sitting, I'm like, what the fuck is going on? My daughter's looking at me. This guy's crazy, right? This is a salesman. Okay? Fine. I said, you know what? Can you send me the quote, email me the quote. And I walked out. And I never bought the car. I drive a BMW, a 750i for a reason, because the woman who sold to me is the best fucking salesperson in the world. She's this big. Her name is Nita. Okay? She's the #1 BMW salesman in the world. She works at Beverly Hills BMW. This woman, you walk in there, she, okay, hey, blah, 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 you can't understand a word she's saying, but for some reason, she comes off sharp as a tack, enthusiastic as hell, unbelievable, right? Am I telling the truth here? It's ridiculous, okay? And she's an expert in her field, and all over, plastered on the walls is #1 BMW salesman with new. I'm like, I have a car with her. She tells me what car I should have, what the color should be, and I drive away with it. Hello? That's rapport. And somehow, and I'm sure how, but not sure, unconsciously, I know I like her because through tonality and body language, she fucking hooked me. But it happened on an unconscious level. If I trace back her words, I can't find one word she said that was so compelling. Remember I said I couldn't understand a word she said? She's, you know, she talked about this one, she name dropped some stars, named the whole thing, right? But somehow, in my heart of hearts, I said, you know what? She cares. She's damn sure is an expert in her field. She's sharp as a tack, and she's so enthusiastic, so it must be great. See, the reason when you say you're enthusiastic, why is that important? Because it must be great. If you call someone, hey, I got this really good product for you, they know. In their gut, they know. Okay? Yet if you listen to 9 out of 10 people try to talk on the phone and influence, they will influence at a low level. I'll give you another life story here, which is very appropriate. I made the fatal mistake once of trying to get life insurance, on the internet. You guys love this, okay? And in fact, one of the guys that used to work for me, and I trained as a broker in influence, now is like the largest internet insurance company, I think, in the United States, because of the skill of persuasion. He was able to take this, so it's a great, amazing story. So I go for life insurance, and that instigates a callback from some girl who sounds like she's 21 or 22, and she's the driest human being on the fucking planet, okay? She's like a robot on the phone. So now I'm leaving for Australia. It's like 8 months ago. I'm going to Australia on a different tour to speak. And she's like asking me all these questions. Your name, something like Jordan Belfort, you know, your social security number, how old are you? So then she says, after like the 10th question, and she's so monotone that I'm tuning out, right? She says to me, have you ever flown a plane before? So I'm like, well, an aircraft. I said, no, I've never flown a plane, but I've flown a helicopter. You know? And I said, that's it. So she goes, okay, so the answer is yes? I said, well, yeah, the answer is yes. So she says, okay, have you ever flown a biplane? I said, no, I've only flown a helicopter. She goes, so the answer is no. I said, the answer is no. She goes, have you ever flown a crop duster? I'm like, no, I've never flown a crop. What the fuck are you talking about, right? I'm starting to get a little agitated, right? So now I get myself pacing back and forth, right? She goes, have you ever flown for the Navy? I'm like, what? No. I've just flown it. Listen, I pushed the fucking thing over the side of my yacht when it was sinking, okay? All I've flown is a helicopter. That's it. Haven't flown in years. She's like, hold on a second. I'm like, oh shit, she puts me on hold. I'm like, she's going to hang up on me, this bitch. I'm really pissed. I got to go to Australia. I'm really pissed, all right? I think she's going to hang up on me, all right? So now I'm sitting there fuming back and forth. She comes back on the phone, okay? She asks me literally 10 more questions of like spy planes. I'm not kidding. Spy planes, all the sorts of planes. I've never heard of so many planes in the world, all right? Then I'm ready to freak out. She's like, all right, we're done with that question, all right? This is woman's what I call as a duck. There's ducks and there's eagles. Like ducks in the world, like these customer service, low level, with low standards, and they have this duck-like mentality. Quack, quack, quack. They walk around waddling and fucking shit. You know those people? They work in motor vehicles mostly, right? Okay? And they're quack. I can sense the bill growing on. I could see the bill getting longer. I'm like, wah, wah. I'm like, listen, lady. She was like, hey, next question. Have you ever used recreational drugs? I'm like, oh shit. I'm like, here we. Fuck. I'm like, yes, everything, massive quantities. You happy? She's like, hold on a second. And she puts me on hold again. Now I get really pissed, okay? So I'm pacing, I'm cursing on my breath, right? And my aunt walks in the door shop. So I'm like, it's your fault. You told me to get life insurance. She's like, calm down. You're losing your state. I'm like, I want to be angry and pissed off. This is exactly. So now I'm pacing back and forth and I'm livid, right? She gets back and she goes, okay, how much cocaine have you? I said, mountains of it. Enough to do a ski jump off of. I smoked it too. You happy? She's like, so the answer is yes? I said, yeah, yes. Just, have you used marijuana? Pounds and pounds of it. Hash oil, everything, mescaline, you name it. I said, she goes, hold on. She puts me on hold again. I'm fucking freaking. I go back, now I'm freaking out, right? I'm like telling him, man, I'm going to kill this girl. It's your fault. You told me to get blame, right? I get back on the phone. She gets back on the phone. She goes, okay, have you ever done methamphetamine? I'm like, I said, listen, lady, you're fucking crazy. I start freaking out. All of a sudden I hear, and she starts crying on the phone. So I'm like, oh shit, I made this poor woman girl. I said, whoa, stop, I feel bad now. I'm like, stop. So, because, one of the things I'm driving at is A, that she's a freaking duck, whack, 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 right? All right? And also that my state of anger, I was able to hurt someone by being angry, and I got myself into an angry, pissed off state, so I negatively impacted everyone around. When you're influencing somebody, there's a saying, you catch flies with honey, not vinegar, right? It's the truth. Okay, when the key to state management and influencing 3 states you need to learn to trigger at will. Certainty, clarity, and conviction. The 3 states. The way you do it, and those of you who've been through any NLP training, okay, the easiest way, the most surefire way is through anchoring. Okay, I can't do it right. I don't have time to do it right now. If I could, I would. Just don't have the time to do it. But the important thing to know is that I have taken anchoring for myself, my own life, to a different level through sense of smell. And I actually add smells. Frank freaked out when I walked. He goes, what the fuck are you doing? I said, because I took a snort of, not cocaine, but I took an actual, I've associated certain smells with states I want. It's the most powerful. And I show you how to do that in the longest time. I just don't have time here, but it's incredibly powerful because nothing brings you back to a state like your smell. It's like a whole new level of anchoring. And once I did that, it's really, really empowering. So anyway, that's why state management is so important. Certainty, clarity, confidence, courage, and the C's, right? Super important, right? So anyway, now I change my state, and I start saying, look, woman, I'm so sorry, ma'am. Come on, I tell her my life story. Next thing, she's laughing. And we end up finishing the call, and that was great. Of course, I got rejected for the fucking insurance. Anyway, who would insure my liver, right? But there are ducks everywhere. And I want you to nail this into your psychology here, because if you ever see yourself in a moment taking on a duck-like mentality, this sort of impossibility notion of what can't be done, you can't influence when you're a duck. Eagles are the ones who can influence. So here's the thing. So here's the idea with influence. Ready? The idea with the straight lines who's read Sun Tzu? Sun Tzu, the Art of War? Every battle's won before it's ever fought. Right? So that's the straight line. The idea is before we go into the encounter, before you call up an affiliate, before you make any move to influence, of course, know what your outcome is, but also know the things that you need to accomplish in the other person's mind to get them to say yes. There's only a few things. Notice, to influence somebody, here's what has to line up. There's 3 things. Number one is that they love your product. They have to love the product on both a logical and an emotional level. Logic alone is not enough to close a sale, and without logic, you get buyer's remorse and people cancel. You have to develop an airtight logical case and an airtight emotional case of why they should love your product. When you read a well-written sales letter, I read them, I'm like, I see exactly. It's very simple. They convince you the product makes sense for you in your own life, and the emotional side of it is that you see yourself using the product in the future and feeling good. It's called future pacing. That must occur. At some point, if you want to close someone, the people buy shit they don't really like. Well, they think they do with buyers. They think they like it emotionally, but they really don't, and they cancel. Well, you get complaints. But this has to line up. The second thing that has to occur, they have to trust and connect with you on unconscious and conscious level, emotionally and logically. They have to connect and trust you. And 3 is trust and connect with your company, who's behind you, whoever's affiliated with you. The idea of the straight line, and it's elementally simple. It takes a little work to master it. A few days, that's it. And then just being and making some mistakes out there in the beginning, you're still going to increase your, like I said, the company, they dramatically increase their close rate. I mean, like, but quick. But once you get elegant at this, it's ridiculous. You can, and I stop, ethical sidebar here. I use this, okay, and it was so effective that I took these like 19-year-old kids and they made them multimillionaires, and they would get a businessman to send in $4 million for a stock they shouldn't buy. Millions and millions of dollars. Because with the system, when you fully understand the system and can use it, you can get people to buy things they shouldn't buy, to do things they shouldn't do, to take actions they shouldn't take. And I caution you now that I will show you I'll give you everything, the keys to the kingdom. But please, please, for your own sake, is only use this system to influence people that should be influenced. The idea is to have ethics and integrity in what you do, to help people to take actions they should be taking, to overcome obstacles that stop them from taking action, that stop them from making good decisions, using the straight line to help people break down the barriers that stop them from taking good decisions. There are so many people, my mom said to me, don't trust the fill a brush salesman. There's people walking around with a lot worse than that in this world. And they have these limiting beliefs about buying. And because they're there, they don't take action. They live in a fucking box and have nothing in life. They live in poverty. They live in negativity. They live in averageism. They don't live empowered lives. The idea, when you're using this beautifully and elegantly, is to help those people get the things they need by number one, developing these airtight cases of loving the product, trusting you in the trust your company, and get that corralled in a single moment in time. In a single moment in time. I can get you to a level of certainty right now. How many are pretty certain that my system's pretty good? Right. Cool. Tomorrow you won't be certain. Not because of anything I did wrong, or it's less true or not true. All is that as human beings, we fall off a level of certainty. You follow what I'm saying here? You're certain for a second, because right, it makes perfect sense to you. You're certain. It will start to deteriorate just naturally over time. You don't stay as certain about something until it happens again and again and again, and then it becomes a conviction, and you're always certain about it, right? But there's a process of convincing. What happens very often in a situation is you might have created 2 of the 3 10s. When I say the 10s, let me say backtrack. In other words, the idea is if 1 is uncertainty and 10 is certainty, if you get someone to a level of certainty that they love it, they're certain they love it, they're certain you're trustworthy and likable, they're certain that your company is going to stand behind it, has integrity. If those 3 10s exist in a moment in time, boom, you got an excellent shot of closing them. If you don't close them, there's a reason why. It's because they have a limiting buying belief. So then what we do in the straight line is we know that, because we know before the battle starts, we know what's going on here. We realize if we get someone to a 10, you know how you do it. You'll know when you have them, because you can hear in their language tones, right? So if you get someone to the 3 10s and they're still not buying, you know it's a buying belief that's holding them back. Or they don't have the money. Get it? Now, the idea with the money, I want to go off topic here, but the idea is to qualify that out earlier on. I'm just giving you the short story here. So they would be out of the system before. In the straight line, you don't pitch people, you don't speak with people who are unqualified, right? So anyway, you get someone to 3 10s and they don't buy, you know, or they don't go for, let's say you're trying to get a deal with an affiliate, right? You're trying to set up an affiliate for your what's your name? Walter. Walter's trying to put an affiliate, right? And he's pitched his heart out to the guy. The guy loves what Walter has to sell. He thinks Walter's going to be a big star in the industry. He knows that in the past, whatever company Walter represents, it's integrity. Everything sounds great, and the guy's still not buying. There's something holding the guy back, and it's typically a buying belief about doing business with someone who doesn't know and not trusting them, having a worse downside than upside. There's something, a belief holding them back. So what we do is once we establish the 3 10s, we then go through a process called looping. And we use very simple language patterns that any 6-year-old, this is so easy, people. It's really easy. You use and it had to be easy because my people were not like super salespeople. You use basic language patterns to loop around to crack people's limiting buying beliefs
in the moment, realizing that certainty wanes after a minute or two, and bring them back up to a level of certainty again. When I say loop, you have to loop and go back to develop the 3 10s once more, and then boom, people start to buy. That's the short story here of how you can influence anybody who is closable, to want to be your partner, to want to be in business with you. To start off, number one, remember, what's the first thing I said? People don't invest their time and money with you, want to be partners with you because you have a goal. What do you need? A vision, right? So this in a vacuum is not as powerful as when you add on the big V into the equation. You become a fucking visionary. And don't tell me, oh, I'm not fuck you are. You're all visionaries. That's what? A reason, right? If you say, I'm not a visionary, that's a load of crap. Every one of you is capable of being a visionary. It's not some little thing that's reserved for the select few. Every one of you is capable of being a visionary. You have to ignite it in yourself. And what happens with a straight line, and I'll tell you what happened with my firm now, is once I taught this to these kids, okay, it ignited a force in them, because when you have this ability, it's almost like it wakes up something inside you, because what changes is not only your ability to influence other people, but to influence who? Yourself. You start feeling completely different about yourself. And these kids went out there and they raised their standards. I would give meetings every single day. And I cracked their limiting beliefs. They would come in, their parents never told them to be rich, right? They thought they'd be working in 7-Eleven, these kids. I would say, the moment you walk through this door and you sit down behind this desk and you say the words I teach you, everything in the past falls off. You become as powerful as the most powerful CEO in America. If you pick up that phone, it's a weapon. You're a terrorist. And then I said I went wild, okay? And I said some stuff I shouldn't have said. But the point is that I'm a little bit older and wiser now, okay? But the first thing I did is I cracked their limiting beliefs. And these kids went out there and achieved things, and I inserted what was called a motivation strategy, which I do now more elegantly, and I know what I didn't unconsciously. I showed them how to motivate themselves using anchors like pain and pleasure. And we've all heard of that before, but I took it to a much higher level. I did it at a much higher level, and boom, it worked. So real quick here, everyone get a lot of value out of this today? Everyone like it?